the signals, goes back to throw. Now looks to take off and run. Elway inside the 10 and dives over the 5-yard line.
Great play. Great play by John Elway. Just phenomenal.
Check swing roller. Tulowitzki. Colorado's the National League champion.
Jokic has to put it up. Falling away, puts it up. Bang! Nikola Jokic knocks it down. His foot was on the line. A two-pointer. What a shot.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Talking BS. I'm your host, Steven Zamora. You can follow me on Twitter at ZamораBSB. Thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the best. You already know it. If you're here, you know I mess with you. If you can, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, it'll help the algorithm out, help promote the video on other people's YouTube platforms, and show off the video to other people. If you subscribe, please turn on that bell notification. That way, every time I upload a new video, you get the notification on your phone or your computer or whatever you're watching on, and it'll let you know right away that I got a new video uploaded, and you could be one of the first ones to go check it out. Also, a lot of basketball discourse. It's all about the conversation. It's healthy to have these conversations. This is, how we end up with, greatest of all time debates and stuff like that. It's healthy for the sport. It keeps the sport alive. It keeps it on everybody's mind. So if you can, please, if you disagree with anything I have to say in this video, leave a comment. If you agree with everything I say in the video, leave a comment. Like, either way, I love to have the discourse with you guys. I love to hear it. I love to hear your feedback. I just appreciate everything you guys do for me. So without further ado, let's get into this. So I wrote an article. I'm submitting it to dropstep.online. So shout out to the homie Shad. If you can, please go check out his YouTube channel. He makes amazing content over there at the Dropstep. He's an awesome YouTube creator. I'm a big fan of his. I've been watching his stuff for a couple years now. And I've always enjoyed his content, and he doesn't just cover the Nuggets, he covers the NBA as a whole. And he makes great stuff. So I ended up following him on Twitter, and, I've hit him up a lot since then. He ended up making a website where people who have hopes of being a writer one day can go on there. And one sec. Sorry, phone was buzzing. Can go on there and submit articles and stuff like that. And, they get recognition, and you can go on there and see what people are writing about. It's a really cool website. I recommend you please go check it out, not just because I do have articles on there myself, but because there are amazing writers on there who do a lot of great work on there, and they have some really cool articles. I love going on there because it's not your typical like Bleacher Report and ESPN, like, oh, rank these top 10 shooting guards, and who is the greatest 3-point shooter of all time. It's not stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of nuance that goes into it. If you guys like the Mind the Game podcast, right, with JJ Redick and LeBron James, where they're like breaking down X's and O's and stuff like that, it's a really good site to go read some really cool articles by a lot of people who aren't, professional writers or anything, and they write some really good stuff there. But I did write an article. And it's basically covering the playoffs coming up, right? We only got a few more games before the playoffs. I just got finished watching the Nuggets put a whooping on the Cavs. Great game. Nikola Jokic ended up with like a 26-point triple-double. I think he had like 16 assists, like 16 or 18 rebounds, something like that. He played amazing. He had a bunch of highlight plays. Christian Brown played really good. A lot of guys played really good in that game. It was a great game, really fun to watch. If you missed it, like you missed one of the better games of the season, to be honest. But with that said, we only have a few games left before we go into the playoffs here. So, I wanted to kind of do a look ahead. And so I was like, on this next episode, I kind of want to do a look ahead, kind of see what's going on. On a previous episode, I did like playoff matchups that would be really interesting. And I kind of ranked teams on like who the Nuggets should kind of worry about more than others. So if you can, go check that out. It's on this channel as well. I think I did it 2 or 3 weeks ago. So there's that one. But this time I wanted to go through and be like, what's a different angle? How can we get prepared for the playoffs in a different way? And I was like, you know what? Every team has that one guy that can really swing a playoff series for that team. And if they can't, if they're not just a guy who's going to swing the series for them, maybe it's a guy whose defensive impact will be needed throughout the playoffs, or a guy who's hot shooting can win them a series. It's all these guys who can really swing a team in their favor or against their favor in some cases. So I wanted to go through that. There are 30 teams in the NBA, but not every team is going to be making the playoffs. So out of those 30 teams, there are 10 teams right now in the Eastern Conference that are pretty much locked up for playoff spots and play-in spots. The 11th seed, I forget who it is, but the 11th seed isn't really eligible. They're not really there. There's a very, very, very slim chance that they're going to make it into the play-in. So in my Eastern Conference, I do only have 10 teams, and it's the 10 teams currently ranked 1 through 10 in the Eastern Conference. But this episode, I'm not going to be going over that because I am under a time restraint, right? I'm trying to fill these episodes in less than 30 minutes to keep you guys, in and out. Don't want to take your whole day. So if you want to figure out who my X factors are for every team in the Eastern Conference, you're going to have to go ahead and read the article. Once the article is posted and ready to go on Drop Step Online, I will link it at the bottom of this YouTube video for you guys, so you guys could check that out as well. I will also be posting it, probably on Reddit. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm definitely going to be posting it there. Speaking of that, if you follow me on Twitter, I have, my other article is posted and pinned on my wall from the trade deadline, where I went through and gave 1 to 5 star rankings for every Western Conference team as well. So, if you want to read the article, it's going to be there. It's going to be posted on my Twitter. It's going to be posted on YouTube. I'm going to post it all over the place, so it's easy access for you guys. So if you're an Eastern Conference fan, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be going over that in this video, but please go ahead and read the article. It'll help a ton. So for this video, I'm just going to be doing the West and going over. I actually have 11 teams in the West, because the Houston Rockets, if you saw a video, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that there's no chance the Rockets are going to make it into the play-in, and then they win 10 games in a row and caught up to the Golden State Warriors. I think they're 2 games back of them now. I think there's like 9 games left. So there's a slim chance they can make the play-in. So I added them to this article as well, and I will be going over their X factor as well. So I got 11 teams for the West to go over. I also asked everybody on Twitter and Reddit who they think would be the Nuggets' biggest X factor going into the playoffs this year. So we will get to that at the end of it when I get to the Nuggets, because I am going to save them for last. Just because when I went through and did the article, I did it from, the 11th ranked team to the 1 ranked team. And at the time when I was listing the teams, the Nuggets were the 1 seed. Unfortunately, they have lost the 1 seed since losing to the Timberwolves the other night. But I digress. They're still going to be the last team mentioned in this video. So, without further ado, because I have time restraints, let's get started. Okay, we're going to start with the 11th seed, the Houston Rockets. I had just mentioned them. Their biggest X factor for me is going to be Jalen Green, of course. So since March 8th, after March 8th, the Rockets went on a 10-game winning streak. Jalen Green was going off during those games. He had a game against Washington on the 14th where he scored 37. He had a game against OKC on the 27th where he scored 37. He scored 41 on Utah on the 23rd and 42 against the Wizards on the 19th. So he's been having some really big games, and that 10-game winning streak brought them all the way back. Like I said, they're only a couple games behind the Warriors. And to me, like, Jalen Green is going to have to keep up that productivity if they're going to make any noise in the play-in and make the playoffs. Next up, we got the Golden State Warriors. So back in December 14th, the Golden State Warriors, they had benched Klay Thompson, right? And it was like the first time in Klay's career since, he was a young guy that he had been brought off the bench. Kind of was a, big, to me, it was kind of the mark of the end of the dynasty, to be honest. Klay just isn't the same guy anymore. So that's my X factor for the Warriors. Klay is a historical playoff riser. He's one of the greatest playoff performers in NBA history. I mean, they call him Game 6 Klay for a reason, right? So what are we going to get? What are we going to get when it comes to playoff time? Is Steph going to have a reliable second option for that offense? Are we going to get Game 6 Klay again, or are we going to get post-injury Klay? That's really going to be the deciding factor for me when the Warriors make the playoffs, or if they make the playoffs. Okay, the next one is the Los Angeles Lakers. For me, this one's pretty obvious. It's D'Angelo Russell, right? He's one of the highest paid players on the team. He is their third option on offense. And the thing is, we saw this last year, right? He's averaging 18 points per game this year. Last year, he was averaging 18 points per game. This year, he's going into the playoffs. Last year, going into the playoffs, or after the playoffs, he was only averaging 13 points per game throughout the playoffs. So, and not to mention the defense. The defense was even worse than that. Like, Bruce Brown was cooking him left and right. They had to take him out. Moach had the whole thing about, are they actually going to play D'Angelo Russell and stuff like that? So I think he's the biggest X factor. I was looking at Cleaning the Glass, right? And I have this in the article. Just to put an exclamation point on the impact the Lakers need from that point guard position, the Lakers most often use lineup of D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis is a plus 7.1. That's not bad, right? But the lineup, if you swap D'Lo for Spencer Dinwiddie, and granted it is a smaller sample, is a plus 24.8. And that is one of the best lineups in the entire NBA. So, yeah, LA, not just saying Spencer Dinwiddie is going to have to play that much, and he's going to be the key or anything, but D'Lo, he has to play well. He has to play well, or, there's no chance for this team. All right, next up, we got the Phoenix Suns, okay? For me, their biggest X factor is Grayson Allen, okay? He is the league's best shooter, right, this year. He's shooting 47.8% from three. Last year, you had a lot of opportunities where Phoenix would kick and drive and kick out to the corner three, and most of the time out there you had Landry Shamet. Well, nowadays you got Grayson Allen, and that's going to be a big thing that teams are going to have to really not forget, right? You already have so much focus on Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. Grayson Allen kind of gets lost in the fold, and you can't leave a near 50% three-point shooter out there. We watched him kill us in the first game against us in that first half, where he just went off against the Nuggets, and he's a legit really good shooter, man. He is the best shooter in the league this year as far as an efficiency standpoint, and he's going to be a big factor. If you help off of him, it's going to end up badly. All right, so next up I got Domantas Sabonis for the Sacramento Kings. So last postseason, Sabonis averaged 34 minutes a game. And in those 34 minutes a game, he only averaged 16 points per game. And he was a negative 49 in that playoff series against the Warriors. The Warriors completely sagged off of him. They were completely letting him shoot. He would get the ball at the free throw line a lot of the time, and they'd give him 3-4 feet of space. And he was just in his own head, man. And I understand, man. You ever go play at the Rec? You ever played on a team or anything? And the guys, are let him shoot. That messes with your mental. And he even said afterwards, it really messed me up. But then this year, just after New Year's, he goes back to San Francisco. First time back in San Francisco. since that playoff series, and he got an 18-point triple-double or double-double. He was 8 of 11 from the field and 2 for 2 from 3. So, you know, we're gonna have to see. Is he over it? Is he gonna, not to say that he's gonna play the Warriors again, but you know, like, is it a playoff thing? Is Sabonis, you know, falling off in the playoffs? Or, you know, is the stage too big? Or was it just the way the Warriors were playing him? Because I'm telling you, teams are going to do that same thing again, and he's going to have to prove them wrong. And if he does, the Kings can make a run. Okay, so for the Mavericks, I kind of cheated. I didn't pick one person, okay? But it is for a good reason, right? Luka Doncic is Luka Doncic. We know, you know, what he's capable of. Kyrie, I think, is worth consideration here, but to me, Kyrie is Kyrie, man. Like, Kyrie is one of the better playoff performers that I can remember. He's going to get his, right? I'm not worried about Kyrie Irving. For me, I think you've got to put this on the front court. I think the entire front court for the Mavericks is the X factor. So before the trade deadline, they were using a Grant Williams and Derek Lively front court, and it wasn't too bad, but it was a minus 2.3 in, I think it was like 220 possessions. Minus 2.3, you know, not terrible, but it wasn't getting the job done. They go into the trade deadline. They add PJ Washington from Charlotte. They add Daniel Gafford from Washington. And since then, this is 250 possessions, I want to say, around there. They are a plus 24.1. And so, you know, Lively is now the backup center. So that whole 3-man rotation of Washington, Gafford, and Lively has been phenomenal for them. They've had a 6-game winning streak. At the beginning of March, they had a 7-game winning streak in the middle of February. So they're starting to put it together. They're really starting to get that chemistry that a lot of teams struggle with after the trade deadline. You add 2 starters like that, it's going to be tough. But, you know, I think that's a pretty good lineup. Good rotation right there, and it gives Luka and Kyrie a ton of options in that front court. And, you know, I think that's going to really be what takes them over the top. For New Orleans, kind of cheating again, kind of not really, because I picked Zion Williamson. And the reason I say it's kind of cheating is because, of course, he's probably their best player, right? It's arguable between him and Brandon Ingram, but to me, Zion has the highest upside, right? He is, I mean, touted as like the next superstar of the NBA and everything. But we all know Zion's not always been the healthiest guy in the world. And he's not always been in shape, and he's had a lot of issues. But this year, right, especially recently, if you've been watching Pelicans games, he's been looking really athletic. He looks like he's getting into shape. This year, he's played in 63 games so far. That's already the most games he's played throughout his career in a single season. And honestly, like, his game has changed a little bit, right? I feel like New Orleans has sort of learned how to play without Zion, so they know how to play with each other. And Zion kind of came in and fit into the team. He didn't make it about Zion. He didn't say, like, you know, oh, it's Zion time now, and now let's build the team around me. Like, no, he's coming in, he's filling in around them, and they're playing really good ball now. Every year he's averaged more assists than he has the year before. He's you know, but this year he's averaging the least amount of points that he has in his entire career since his rookie year. Yeah, I think him fitting into that team, because that team is deep. That team has a lot of really good players. To add Zion to that and not mess up the chemistry, I think that's dangerous. It really is dangerous, and New Orleans could make a deep run here if Zion stays the course. For the Los Angeles Clippers, my pick is James Harden. Now, I will take any opportunity to slander James Harden because I do not like James Harden. No, I'm just playing. It's nothing personal with James Harden. I don't know anything about the guy personally. But, you know, he's one of my least favorite players in the league. So everybody knows about his playoff struggles, right? Everybody, you know, that's kind of his reputation around the league. Is like, oh, he's a former MVP. He's one of the, you know, greatest scorers of all time, but he's a playoff choker, notorious playoff choker. So I looked and I found this quote by Zach Lowe, right? Zach Lowe, in my article I wrote, Zach Lowe explained it succinctly on his podcast, The Low Post. I did the deep dive. Harden's fourth quarter numbers in big games, in elimination games, and 2-2 series games are bad. His crunch time numbers are bad. Most of his best playoff games are when his team is up 3-0, down 3-0, up 3-1, or down 3-1. And it's true. He had an 11-point game in Game 6 against Miami last year with the Sixers and didn't score at all in the second half. So, I mean, he's going to need to be better than that. To me, though, I mean, he was playing with another guy who's, kind of notorious for bad playoff performances, and Joel Embiid, but he's with a guy in Kawhi Leonard now who is kind of the opposite. Kawhi has always been kind of like a notorious playoff riser. I mean, a lot of people credit him as like carrying that Toronto team to a championship over the Golden State Warriors with KD in them. Even, there was a lot of injuries, right? Clay wasn't there. Kevin Durant got hurt. But still, like, he helped the Spurs win that championship. So like Kawhi has been known as like one of these great playoff performers, and he's a clutch time winner. He's a winner. So we're gonna see, man, it's the unstoppable force versus the immovable object there, to be honest. It's like Harden's playoff falling or Kawhi's playoff rising, which is going to end up winning. If Harden doesn't shit the bed completely, I mean, the Clippers could make a very good run here. Okay, we're going to go into our top 3 seeds now. These teams are all real close in the standings. We'll see who ends up the number 1 seed. But I'm going to start with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and their X factor for me is Naz Reid. I love Naz Reid. Like, who doesn't love Naz Reid, right? He is a capable big man, and he is, in every sense of the word, right? Like, he can post up. He's strong. He's athletic. He has good footwork. He can shoot threes. He's 40% from 3. He's decent on the perimeter. Like, he can keep up with a lot of wings and stuff like that. He's got good size. And he's a really good passer. Like, we just had the game against them a couple nights ago, and like, he was making some really good passes. I was really impressed with him. He's averaging 13 a game right now. He's at 24 minutes a game. I think if you put him in a starting role on a lot of teams, he would be one of the better centers in the NBA. They're going to need him. They're going to need him, especially because Denver is, everybody's pick out west. You're going to have to go through Denver at some point, probably. And if that's the case, you're going to need Cat. You're going to need Rudy. You're going to need Naz. And because you got the Joker coming for you, you're going to need, you're going to need that size and that productivity from that position. All right, so OKC is going to be my next one, and their pick for me will be Jalen Williams, J-Dub, right? The thing is, you could pick anybody on this team, to be honest. Like, this is Shai's first real, like it's not his first playoffs, but it's his first time as like the favorite. Will he be able to perform? Especially like, he's kind of a foul grifter. The whistle gets, a lot tighter in the playoffs. So we'll see if he's able to keep it going. This is going to be Chet's first opportunity in the playoffs to really show off, like he ain't like, here's the thing. Chet ain't no bitch, he's not going to just let guys bully him. But at the same time, he's like he weighs as much as a feather. So that's going to be what we're looking for. Right. But to me, I had to pick Jalen Williams because J-Dub is like, I've been a J-Dub truther since day one, man. Like, I remember I was reading his draft profile and they had a lot of people had him going in the second round. And I was like, this guy is 6'7", handles the ball, shoots, defends, has like a 7-foot wingspan. Like, what am I missing here? I was like, there's no way he makes it out of the lottery. And, lo and behold, the Thunder, of course, see that talent and pick him, I think, 12th overall. According to Basketball Index, he's the second best on-ball forward in the league, just after Kawhi and just ahead of Giannis. And on top of that, like, he's a very clutch player. He's already hit a bunch of game winners. Like, he's averaging 20 a game. Like, the Thunder are going to need him. Shai's going to need him. Jalen Williams, man, he's a star, man. Really, if you get a chance, check out the Thunder. J-Dub, He's the truth. All right. Last but definitely not least, our Denver Nuggets. So I did go and I went on Twitter and I went on Reddit and I asked all you guys, who is the Nuggets X factor for the playoffs coming up? And I got some really good answers. So I promised I would read my favorite ones on the show today. So that's what I'm going to do. From World Champions at @MileHigh_, the Nuggets will need a starter on the floor at all times. MPJ has some off-court distractions right now, so if he can lock in, he is the puzzle piece that takes this team over the top. Close second is AG. He will have all the hard defensive assignments, so we need his foot to be right. From Fami at UN01CHI, the homie Fami, the X factor is Jokic's text messages. Shout out Fami. From the homie Will at Will_D_Jones. I got to go with MPJ. I'm confident in Yoke, Murray, AG, and KCP doing their thing or hitting their normal levels of production. But if MPJ plays like he has post All-Star break, we're going to be very hard to beat. And I agree. Like, I just did a whole episode on MPJ last week where he was just going off on every game. And so if you get a chance, go look at that episode. A lot of MPJ love on that one. Jeff Brink at JB Nugs. KCP for me. He's going to have tough defensive assignments, which he's up for, but also hitting open threes. Him clamping guys and also hitting 50% on open threes can be the difference in a 7-game series. We know he's getting opponents' 4th or 5th best defenders on him, so we've got to capitalize. Good point. And last but not least, the homie Big Mike at Miners Muse. The other team, they have to do bad. So shout out Big Mike. It's facts, big facts. Like, the other team has to play bad. But for me, none of those are correct, to be honest. I'm sorry. I love you guys. But to me, none of those were the right answer. To me, there's only one answer, and that is Jamal Murray. In my opinion, the obvious answer for this is Jamal. The Nuggets are 11-9 without him this year. I guess 12-9 now since they just beat the Cavs today. The Nuggets were 5-10 in the playoffs in those 2 years where he was injured. But to me, like, the biggest thing is that recent Suns and Wolves loss. The 2 losses to the Suns and the Wolves, really. When you watch those games, both teams doubled Jokic. They bet on everybody else to hit open shots, which is, like, you got KCP and MPJ out there. Sure, right? But those jumpers aren't going to win you games. They're going to swing games, but they're not going to single-handedly win you games. Jamal is the fire of this team, man. For the past few games, like, they've had no, since they kind of burned the Jets against the Celtics, right, in that whole statement week, they've kind of been lackadaisical, right? They've kind of come out and they haven't really had fire. They haven't really had that punch that we really love seeing from that team. Other than this Cavs game, like, that's kind of what's been missing, right? Is this whole, is that fire that the team's been missing. And that's Jamal, man. That's that is his thing. He brings that. He brings that energy. He brings confrontation. He brings, bully attitude to this team. That we're going to fight. We're always going to fight. We're never going to stop. You have to kill us to make us go away. And to me, that's what makes him great. That's what makes him like an elite playoff performer, is he's going to always bring that toughness and that attitude to the team. And to me, that's going to be such a big factor, especially in the playoffs. Now, tactically, like I said, you're doubling Jokic all the time. You don't have a lot of creation on this team. I was pounding the table for weeks before the trade deadline that I don't care about a backup center. Everybody wanted a backup center. I wanted another point guard. We need somebody else who can create a shot. That is a big hole on this team, is that we have 2 creators on this team. MPJ is getting better at it, right? I mean, that was part of the episode, was talking about him getting better at his shot creation and stuff like that. He is getting better at it. But at the end of the day, man, he spent the past 4 or 5 years on this team as a spot-up shooter. KCP, right? Great defender, elite defender, great spot-up shooter, not a great creator. Reggie Jackson, super inconsistent. Love Reggie, but is he even going to play in the playoffs? We don't know, right? So come playoff time, if you don't have Reggie in the rotation, you have two creators on the offensive end. You have Jokic and you have Murray. And when you get rid of one of those guys, it makes it a whole lot easier to defend the other. A whole lot easier. Especially because our whole offense is based off the two-man game now. Like every time we win in the clutch, what's the go-to? We go to the two-man game. And then other stuff happens off of it, right? That's where you get the finale oops. That's where you get an MPJ open three. That's where you get, a Christian Brown cut dunk. Like all that stuff comes off of the two-man game. And our offense is so predicated off the two-man game now. I just feel like the other stuff isn't as easy to flow into, right? And that all starts with Jamal. Nobody runs it like him. Nobody runs it like him and Yoke. We're going to need him. If he stays healthy and he's ready to go and he's in shape, there's nobody stopping these Denver Nuggets. Okay? That is why he is the X factor. He is the X factor of all X factors, to be honest. Like if Jamal Murray is healthy and ready to go and in shape, the Nuggets are winning an NBA Finals. It's as easy as that. So with that said, I'm running out of time here. Just wanted to say thank you guys one more time. Please, if you can, like and subscribe to the channel. I will have the article posted very soon for you guys. So you guys can go ahead and check that out. All my Eastern Conference fans out there, if you can, that's where your team's going to be at. I appreciate you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the best. I love you guys. Go Nuggets. Talking BS. We out.